Hello and thank you for watching this video, which is about a new housing development in Magheramason. My name's Les Ross, I'm a planning consultant and I'm part of the team preparing the planning application. To begin, let me show you the site. You're probably watching this video because you've seen an advert in the newspaper or you've got a letter from me. So letters were sent to all the local households and to local politicians. This video is part of a consultation process. We want to tell you a little bit about the proposal in this video, and also would like to get your feedback. If you give us some feedback, that'll be used to refine the layout, just as we put the final touches to the planning application. I'll tell you a bit more about how to get in contact with me at the end of the video. It's important to say this is a first stage. There is still time to change things. It's important to say also that I work for the developer, not for the council. Whenever the planning application is submitted, you will have a chance to contact the planning department and the council and tell them what you think about the proposal then. But this first image shows the site with a red line showing the outline of the housing development site boundary. I've just indicated a few other things on the map, just the service station, the opposite side of the A5, and Blackstone Park there to the south, which is the southern boundary of our site. And you also see the farmyard there in Clamberdown Road, just on the eastern side of the site. It's a big field here in the middle of Magheramason. It's quite prominent from the roadside because it's open and it's surrounded by development. It's quite a notable feature as you're driving along the A5 there through Magheramason. So just stepping back to look at the wider context of the area. This map is an extract from the Ordnance Survey base. It just shows Magheramason as it sits in the River Foyle Basin on fairly low-lying land, fairly flat-lying land, and the land form rises there to the south. As you can see there, it gets a bit steeper there as you move south from the village. But the site itself is fairly flat. And this next image just shows you an aerial photograph of the site. It just picks up some of those features. The housing development to the south, the commercial development and the houses on the other side of the A5 road, and a few detached houses on the northern edge of the site. And then out in the east there, the farmyard on the minor road to the east. And I've got a few other aerial photographs just show the wider context. This is taken from the River Foyle side of the village, and you're just looking out over the site there. It's also outlined red. You can see the cricket ground on beyond and this image is a very important part of the village and the local community, and you see the service station there just in the bottom part of this image on the other side of Victoria Road. This image just shows how the site's surrounded by development. It also indicates how prominent the site is when you're viewing it from the Victoria Road. And another aerial image here, this is just taken from out near the cricket ground, looking back to the site. Again, the site's outlined red there. And what you can see there is that longer view out over Loch Foyle in the distance. And it gives you an idea of that fairly flat landscape, and you can see the road sort of moving north there. You can just about see that in that image as well. So just looking at the area plan in this next image, this is the defined settlement limit for Magheramason as defined in the Strabane Area Plan 2001, which still remains the plan for the area. The black dots indicate the age of the settlement limit, and there are no specific designations within the settlement. What that means is that anywhere within the settlement there's a presumption in favour of development and an expectation, I guess, that there'll be housing, community and other development within that area. And indeed, this next image shows you, just some of you probably be aware that back in 2006 planning permission was approved for 84 dwellings on this site, and this is an image of the old planning approval, just showing you the layout there. The blue line is the A5 Victoria Road, and the red is the roads network that was approved through the site. So this is the PSD drawings for this, the road service drawings for this, that associated with that approval. And it's also notable that 2 years ago now, planning permission was granted for 24 houses on the area I've just shown yellow on the plan. So that's why our site doesn't include the whole of the field, because there's already a live planning permission for 24 houses just out on the road frontage. So that's all well defined, that's all ready to go, and the access off the A5 Victoria Road is defined by that approval. So that's the history and the background to the proposal. But we come at it with fresh eyes to consider what should happen on the site, and just trying to update the ideas for the scheme in terms of modern planning policy and the expectations of the market and the needs of local families and the community for new housing. So as I say, the road frontage element is already well defined. The land's quite flat. There's a few bumps across the site, but nothing very significant. So it's fairly flat. There's not very many features. The main features of the site are the very strong hedge line along the eastern boundary, basically between the site and the farmyard area. And just thinking about a proposal for the site, some of the key features are marked up on this context plan. And what I've just mentioned here is the need to respect the existing dwellings to ensure that the new housing development fits in with what's gone there before and what's happened before, both in terms of the existing houses and actually the proposed new houses, those 24 houses that are already approved in the site. But I've just marked up sort of a yellow line there at the backs of those houses that front onto the Victoria Road, and also the houses in Blackstone Park, which have a boundary with the site. So that's a very important contextual issue and an issue for the layout to consider. Generally, the best way to deal with that is to back houses to the backs of houses, and it's a standard way, and that's so the back gardens are across a hedge line or a fence line. There's also a need on this site to respect that there's a drain on the southern boundary there with Blackstone Park, so a little stream that runs along there, and the Rivers Agency require a maintenance strip. They need to get in there and make sure that that if there's any blockages or anything on the drain, that can be resolved. And so part of our scheme will be showing a maintenance strip along the stream. And finally, I've marked an orange line just to indicate that boundary between the site and the existing farmyard. And obviously there are issues, there's potential for conflict between those two uses in terms of noise, in terms of smells. So we've carried out studies into those issues. An expert has come out to consider the noise impacts and the odour context, and has provided expert reports for us on those issues, and then that's been taken into account in terms of basically how far houses should be from the farmyard. And what we're thinking of is the need for a buffer along that area, just to create that little bit of separation so that there's no conflicts between those uses in future. So just moving on to this, I'll not dwell on this plan for very long. This is a concept image. It just shows you how we sort of think about what the layout should be like. One of the key features we thought of on this site was the idea of a green and open space in the kind of centre of the site, and a green area that you would see as you're driving in from the main road into the site, that the view directly in front of you was that sort of green or open area, very much within the housing development area, but giving you that sense of openness and sort of a pleasant character for the housing development. Just showing that you would have houses around that area to provide supervision of it, and for the benefit of the residents that live there. They've a nice outlook. The rest of the site, as I said earlier, you want to back houses onto where there are existing houses, so basically onto Blackstone Park, backing onto those houses that are along the Victoria Road. And then we talked earlier about this buffer along the farmyard. So best way to do that is with landscaping and greenery, and then fronting houses onto that nice bit of open space there between the farmyard and the site. So basically what we come up with is this first draft layout, and this is probably the plan you've been waiting to see. Now, the first thing you'll probably think, that's not very much different than what was approved way back in 2006, and you'll be right. We have come, although we've studied the site again from first principles, that layout that was approved previously works quite well. This scheme just moves the open space a little bit more centrally and just leaves it at the end of the main drive-in. That gives you a sort of a better core to the site and a better view as you're coming in there. We think that works a bit better. But overall, the layout's pretty similar. Houses backing on to the existing dwellings surrounding, and that wee bit of buffer space along the farmyard and houses fronting towards that area. So I'd encourage you to pause the video here, have a good look at that, and we'd be delighted to get some feedback from you on what you think of the proposal. Okay, so the aim of the video was to tell you about the proposal. So I hope you know a lot more about our scheme now, and we'll be delighted to hear from you, please. So just up on the screen, these are the ways that you can get in touch. You can write to us or call us or email us. If you want to have a chat with me, I'm on the telephone there, normal office hours, so give me a shout. We would like to get your feedback by the 31st of January, because after that we'll be trying to refine the scheme, to finish it off, and then to make a planning application. Then, as I said, at that stage you'll have the opportunity to comment directly to the local planning officers. Just remains for me to say thank you very much for watching, and all the very best. Thank you. Bye.